again, Dave here. Thanks for tuning in and clicking on the link. I did want to do a little update on the Grand Hotel in Scarborough. It's a building that took me peace of mind away really a couple of years ago when I first stopped there. I've already done a two-part video on it, so I won't go into all the details about the place, but what I could never get away with from the beginning is what the official narrative says of the build and what we can see on the ground that was actually built. And that was, let's say, well over 2 years ago. I've been back to the hotel a few times, and it still had that intrigue. Why, I don't know. It's just one of those sort of like things just getting drawn back to the place. This is the Grand as you see it today. The official narrative, it was built in the shape of a V. Commemorate Queen Victoria, 4 towers for the 4 seasons, 52 chimneys for 52 weeks of the year, 365 bedrooms for each day of the year. The initial build, like it says, in the shape of a V. Now what I could never understand, where this extension came from, because it's not mentioned anywhere in the build about this extension, and I didn't really know where to look. I found out what it is since, but I'll get round to that. This is it in its heyday when it opened. It's a 12-story hotel, supposedly, purpose-built hotel, supposedly. Best of its kind in Europe of its time. That's not 12 stories high. You know, the official narrative is there's 3 floors below that they do use now. They use as interior bedrooms. Bloody horrible place down there. But I've spoke to 2 people that have worked there that have been way below the levels that the claim is down there. This is a picture of basically what was supposed to be the original build to be, which, you know, it makes sense to a certain extent, but I could never understand why a purpose-built hotel would have 3, the staff say, I say at least 5, and other people say 6 levels below the street. So you've got almost all that bloody face of the hotel, that amount of window space below the road. Didn't make sense, and it still doesn't now. This gives you the height of the building from top to bottom. This is looking up the side of it, looking down. You know, there's the bottom part of the footprint of this whole complex. And as you can see, that's looking up the other way. That's how much is below the street out the front. This is that extension that I've just talked about. This is looking down the gap of the hotel, and I'm stood on the extension here. But this window level here is 1 below street level. That's 2. You can see the stairs go down there, 3. That's 4 levels that we can see already. So, you know, lovely place inside, it really is. But I wasn't really interested in the inside, I was interested in more who built it. And to find out, really, I had to go back a little bit in time. This image here shows from, you know, quite a different view. This image here, when I first heard about mud flood, I was actually in Scarborough. And I got a text off Mick, Rebel Without a Pause. And he was, actually I think I've got a picture here, yeah. What I was looking out for on my travels was walls like this one here. It appears to be sandstone blocks, but it's not. It's just a very thin render, then it's pointed to make it look like sandstone blocks. The other thing that got me, this is on the side of the Grand, was this red area here. And very, very quickly, in a nutshell, as I found out, some of this brickwork is 200-year-old. So what's 200-year-old brickwork doing in a building that's only 150-year-old? that's because the Grand was built on top of something else. Now, what was prior to the Grand was a set of buildings called the Lodgings, which I'll go into in a sec. And I reckon that this stonework is maybe part of that era. This one, before I move on to Lodgings, this, pretty much as it is today, on the right. On the left is, it's Victorian heyday. See the little towers on the extension there. Extension's already built. But the thing that's, and I'll come round to showing you later, I wonder what this thing here was. It was like a little round tower. And it stuck in my mind, and, I eventually got the answer. This is looking at from the, from the coast road. This is the extension that was built, and I believe was there before all this Grand was built. It's not just a small extension, which is how it's portrayed in the history books, and I'll get around that in a bit. It's quite a big place. I mean, look at the size of that bus. And I do believe that the footprint of that building out the front, and people have said that it does, goes down to this level. That's how big and vast that building is. This is Kelvin, a lad who's been helping me out a hell of a lot around, when I'm researching into Scarborough. This is one of the levels below street level that they decided to turn into interior rooms. I mean, the columns there, but I mean, they've been plastered over, God knows what's behind them. But that's as much as I can get the photography below there. Last time I finished off on this picture about the Grand, because it's mid-1700s print. But the thing that really caught me at the time, and it still grabs me now, what I found really important, I felt were important, for the castle and the church together. See, we know now the churches have been hijacked by religion, that there were totally different types of buildings used for different purposes. And I firmly believe that somewhere beneath that castle was a fresh water supply as well. They're very important buildings. Over this side, you have what's called Dickie's Castle. It has a dome on the top, just like the Spa has a dome on the top now. But most importantly for me, this area here, F down the bottom here, is the ruins of St. Nicholas Church. So there's a church or something below that, because it's the ruins of it, it's below there. And when you look at this imagery, as I said in the last video, it looks as if they're just starting to dig themselves out of the mud. As if there's been some event that's literally, maybe flattened part of that building, took the top of it off, I don't know. But it does say the ruins of the church are there. So I do believe that they are below that, just waiting to be dug out. Right, the Woods Lodgings. These buildings that I'm going to show you now are pre-Grand. They were there before the Grand, and I'll just tell you a little bit about them. This block of houses here, they're called the Woods Lodgings. I mentioned them briefly in the last video I did. Because what it looks very clearly to me, as if these buildings here are built in the footprint of something already there. Where I've gone away, read in the history books, and it appears, although I don't believe it, to be the other way around. These buildings here, they built these, then they wanted to extend them. So the extension they built not only came out from the side, right down here, and right the full length of the building. And it doesn't really make that much sense to me. And also going down 3 floors, for I think it's 4. I think in early Victorian times, before this event took place, this here, I do believe, is the remnants of the church that was here. It was St Nicholas Church and St Nicholas Hospital, and it goes right back to the 1300s. So I do believe that this site is pretty important, and that's why things have been built on top of it. This is really well after the mud event, because we've already been dug out along these houses. It's almost as if the Victorians have seen to the, you know, the residential properties first. I mean, we all know what squatters the Victorians were, if you follow this subject. You know, they've bit of spare cash, they've built these buildings here, and I think this story about the extension and building this, I don't believe it's true at all. I think maybe they've decided to start and utilise this space here. But anyway, I'll move on. Right, this is the same buildings, but from the back. You stood on the seafront here looking up. These are the buildings, original ones, up the top. Now what they're saying is, they came first, and they built all this bloody big extension around it second. And I don't believe it. I really don't. There's a couple more pictures here that just really demonstrate the same as what they're saying. There's the original build. The darker, bigger build is the extension that come at a later date. And needless to say, they only had this extension, all the money. I mean, it's not a small extension by any means, but it was only up 20 years or so, and then they supposedly demolished it all to build the Grand. This is that same picture again. They say these are all dug out. These are all well established, these, so, you know, this timeline, you know, saying that these were first built and these came second, it just doesn't really wash with me. It's just over here, I won't blow it up. You know, another picture depicting the same, really. Right, when I started inquiring about this building, quite a while back, I wrote to everybody, yeah, including the Grand, including Britannia Hotels that own it, Scarborough Council, Museum Services, the whole 9 yards I wrote to find out anyone that had construction photos of this place, the Grand being built. And lo and behold, my little friend Kelvin, he came up trumps because he's come up with some belting pictures. But what this does show is the Grand itself being built. You see all the scaffolding, but this extension is already there. You know, I could never understand why in the official narrative the original build didn't include this extension. Well, it wasn't included for the simple fact it was already there. They didn't need to include it. And I firmly believe that, as I said in the last video, that the Grand Hotel was just built to incorporate all that was already there. Let's see what the next picture is. This is an even better one. You can clearly see the construction that's going on, building the Grand here. But that extension, no scaffolding or nothing up round there. Nothing at all. And that's why I think this extension, well, I'll show you anyway. That's a similar picture, but the most important part I want to see all seems to be blurred out. But it actually looks like just after the woods lodgings have been flattened to road level before the Grand was actually built on top of it. Right, this picture here, I mentioned it earlier on, I think. Grand as it is now, as it was in Victorian times. This tower thing here, couldn't understand what it was there for, why it was there. But then Kelvin sent me this picture, which really blew my mind when I started to look at it. Because, first of all, as I suspected, the scaffolding only shows the top half of the Grand being built. the brickwork which I mentioned in the early videos, you've got 200-year-old brickwork in a building that's 150-year-old. This clearly shows that extension's built and complete. You know, long before, I believe, this here. Now, one of the chaps that I was speaking to that used to go on the hunt, you know, when they were working nights, they'd go on the rake around on the dinner break, and one of the things he was telling me, he's been right down almost to the bottom, straight down, and that was pretty horrendous. Decided to come down this way and head out towards underneath the spa area. Now, what he said, and this was quite a couple of months ago now maybe, when you got down to that level, first of all it was like the catacombs down there. And he said they were so frightened to go any further because of the tremendous sound and running and rushing of water. Well, you've not only got them two tunnels there, you've got two that I can see over there. And why are these necessary underneath the purpose-built hotel? 50 yards to 100 yards to the left of the picture here, you'd have the mill beck, which is where all the water from this area drains into. So it's not for drainage, I don't believe 1 minute. And I actually believe this bottom part here, they haven't quite fully excavated yet. Because I'll show you a picture in a minute that sort of really blew me mind. But, you know, what are these tunnels about? They'll still be there. Because you can actually walk across the top of it, you know. It's a flat side there, so there'll be manhole covers or something. But there's no, I mean, whether they're in use now, whether it's been used in antiquity. See, I firmly believe this, right across here, the top sort of, this 3 levels, I believe is from antiquity. I think it's from a period long before the Victorians, and really the Victorians have come along, they've built them woods lodgings on the top, and then at a later date when there's been a bit more money about, they've concocted the Grand Hotel over the top of it. Now if I can, now I'll show you, this is the top view. This red here is roughly where these woods lodgings were. Now, as I've mentioned, what they say is the woods lodgings came first, then they built the 3-story extension going down the cliff. Now, the 3-story extension going down the cliff is this green patch here. That's the extension. You know, so if you're building an extension onto that building, how come it's all the way over here? You know, it really doesn't make sense. You know, if they say they've built this extension close up to this, well, what's this bit doing here? You know, this is the original build, the V, so to say. But this was already here. And who knows, maybe a lot of the infrastructure underneath is already there. But the sort of narrative that they're giving out, I don't mean giving out, it's not the museum's fault or people I contact's fault. It's, you know, these history books were written quite a long time ago. And the fact is, we weren't around in the 1800s, I wasn't, certainly nobody else was either. So that's pretty much up in the air. This picture surfaced. Now with this picture, it blew my mind, because that's roughly how the footprint of the Grand is. You know, the building's almost identical to the Grand. The extension bit is almost the same as the Grand. But I've been told by several people it's an artist's impression of what they wanted it to look like, or what they expected it to look like. But who knows, is it an artist's impression of what it was like before the event? You know, it's obviously the event has happened because of the height of the street up there, but you know, is this a glimpse into the splendour of what the Grand used to be? I mean, you have a road causeway coming around the side here. You have one round that way. Horses and carriages can get right round the top there. That's a 3-story extension. So, you know, who knows. I originally started out on this just to try and find out why the Grand had so many levels below street for the purpose-built hotel. And in a nutshell, you know, it was a hotel built over something that was already there, as far as I'm concerned. At the end of the Grand building, as I've shown you the brickwork, it's 200-year-old in a 150-year-old building. Them archways that I've shown you, if we can go back to this picture, you know, is there another couple there? We just don't know. You know, we just don't know what's down here, what's being tampered with, what's still intact. The thing is, you know, just to unlock a couple of secrets of what the tunnels were for, you know, you can make interest in the town. You know, you can make part of the town more interesting again. You know, which people, you know, might think it's a bit bloody daft, but, you know, I had a 2-night period built in Scarborough. Because of this bloody mudflood business, they extended it to 4 nights. So the town's already gained by this mudflood interest, even if it's only by me. So I very much doubt whether anybody will ever come clean about the event that caused this, because it seems to have been airbrushed out of history. But I'm 99.9% convinced that this bottom half of the Grand Hotel, or the Woods Lodgings, whatever you want to call it, is the bottom half of a building from antiquity. I'll just go back onto that footprint as such. Nah, I've lost it again. You know, I'll leave you with that picture, because that building covers the space that the Grand does actually cover. You know, these are all paths now down here, and, you know, it's not all built up like that. This is all just bloody basic boarded off frontage now. But it'd be so nice to get down in the bowels of that place. I've got a camera crew down there, you know, local TV bloody news or something. With a couple of people that are interested in it, not a couple of bloody farts whose profession it is to say whatever they're told to say. You know, a few individual people down there and have a look. Anyhow, I'm rabbited on enough about that one. But thanks very much for, you know, watching. If I find out any more about this place, I'll be sure to let you know, because I'm not finished with it yet. The same with a lot of things in Scarborough. Yeah, I just can't drag myself away from the place. I've got so much planned for my own town, but I keep getting drawn back here for some reason. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Bye now.